You ever catch yourself rolling your eyes at someone only to realize moments later that your own comeback was dripping with sarcasm? Maybe it's that dry remark you muttered under your breath at the office, or the witty jab you fired at a friend that made everyone laugh a little too hard. Sarcasm, it's funny, it's biting, and believe it or not, it actually takes a certain kind of brain power. The thing we sometimes dismiss as rude or snarky is secretly a sign of mental sophistication. Stick around, because we're about to uncover the psychology behind sarcasm and why it might just be a superpower of higher intelligence. Think about it. Sarcasm isn't just saying the opposite of what you mean. There's a kind of mental gymnastics involved. Detecting irony, predicting how the other person will interpret it, balancing timing, tone, and context. It's like juggling while walking on a tightrope over a pit of judgment. And if you've ever tried it, you know it's way easier to mess up than to pull off. But why does the brain need to work so hard just to make a joke that stings a little? That's where the science gets fascinating. First, let's meet the quick-witted strategist. Imagine a dinner party. Someone spills red wine across the table, and without missing a beat, your friend leans over and says, "Oh, you've always had a flair for abstract art." Everyone laughs, even the wine spiller, but there's subtle brilliance behind that jab. The strategist is quick, agile, and constantly scanning the social environment. Psychologists have found that understanding sarcasm relies heavily on executive function, the brain's way of managing attention, inhibiting obvious responses, and switching perspectives. In other words, your strategist isn't just funny. They're mentally flexible, able to hold multiple interpretations in their mind at once. This type of sarcasm serves a dual purpose. On one hand, it's social entertainment, like seasoning a conversation. On the other, it's a tool for signaling intelligence without saying, "Hey, I'm smart." The strategist knows sarcasm conveys cleverness, confidence, and emotional nuance. If you recognize yourself in this type, think back to moments when you've made people laugh without even trying, and notice how often your brain was doing heavy lifting. Then there's the defensive sharpshooter. Picture this. Someone makes a subtle dig at you during a team meeting, and before you realize it, you fire back with a perfectly calibrated quip. This type of sarcasm acts as a shield, a way to protect oneself while maintaining social footing. It's not just about being funny, it's about self-preservation, blending humor with psychological resilience. Studies show defensive sarcasm activates the prefrontal cortex and areas responsible for social reasoning. It's like playing chess, but the opponent is a subtle insult and your move is a line of humor that deflects tension. People who excel at this kind of sarcasm are highly perceptive. They notice nuances others might miss, detect threats to ego or status, and respond in ways that are socially acceptable but still sharp. So next time someone lands a zinger and you can't help but clap back, thank your brain. It's performing a complex social calculation. But here's the twist. Sarcasm isn't always purely strategic or defensive. Meet the philosophical ironist. Imagine scrolling through a social media post and a friend comments, "Oh sure, because logic always wins on the internet." You laugh. But there's more going on. The philosophical ironist uses sarcasm to critique, reflect, and explore life's absurdity. It's less about impressing people and more about highlighting contradictions, paradoxes, or societal quirks. This type thrives on metacognition, the ability to think about thinking. They see the gap between reality and expectation and point it out in a way that's humorous and intellectually stimulating. Research links this style of sarcasm to higher verbal intelligence and abstract reasoning skills. So when someone makes a sarcastic comment that makes you pause and nod, they're inviting you into a more complex mental dance. Another profile is the social bonding trickster. You might know this person. At a party, they sarcastically tease a friend about their obsession with a TV show, and everyone bursts out laughing. The trickster isn't necessarily the cleverest in an academic sense. They're socially savvy. Their brain is tuned to detect group dynamics, status hierarchies, and shared cultural knowledge. Sarcasm becomes a way to connect, signal belonging, and establish subtle social influence. Neuroscience suggests humor, especially sarcasm, releases dopamine, creating shared pleasure between speaker and listeners. The trickster understands that sarcasm can strengthen relationships and enhance social cohesion. So if you use sarcasm as a bridge to bond with friends, you're tapping into a deep psychological instinct that requires acute social awareness and emotional intelligence. Of course, sarcasm isn't universally understood. Interpreting it requires a mind capable of processing conflicting signals, tone, context, facial expressions, and prior knowledge. Kids struggle because their brains are still developing regions responsible for abstract reasoning and social cognition. Adults who are highly intelligent tend to decode sarcasm effortlessly, often enjoying the mental challenge it presents. Here's a thought experiment. Think about your last sarcastic comment, or the last time you laughed at someone else's. Did you pause for a second before getting it? That tiny delay, that flicker of recognition, is the brain performing an intricate analysis. You're not just hearing words, you're interpreting intentions, weighing context, and making a judgment. The more frequently you engage in this cognitive workout, the sharper your social and analytical skills become. Now, let's not forget the emotional intelligence factor. Sarcasm walks a fine line between humor and offense. Successfully wielding it requires empathy, timing, and intuition. Misread it, and you risk alienating someone. Get it right, and you create a shared joke, a mental handshake that signals cleverness and subtlety. The best sarcasm, like the kind that makes you laugh and think, is a high-wire act of brain power, creativity, and social finesse. So, what does all this mean for you? Well, if you catch yourself using sarcasm regularly, you might be exercising some impressive cognitive muscles. You're decoding social cues, navigating context, and delivering humor with precision. And if you recognize different kinds of sarcasm in people around you, you're observing layers of intelligence expressed in everyday conversation. Maybe it's the strategist you admire, the defensive sharpshooter who keeps you on your toes, the philosophical ironist who makes you rethink life's absurdities, or the trickster who effortlessly bonds a group together. Each type reflects a unique interplay of cognition, emotion, and social skill. Here's a reflective thought. Which type do you identify with? Are you the clever strategist, the witty defender, the insightful ironist, or the charming trickster? Maybe it's a combination, or maybe you're just warming up to the idea that sarcasm is more than snark. It's a subtle indicator of intelligence, perception, and social mastery. Notice the next sarcastic remark you hear or deliver. Think about what it says about the speaker's mind, not just their humor. If you enjoyed peeling back the layers of sarcasm, consider this. Every joke, every quip, every ironic twist is an opportunity to observe human behavior, to see how intelligence, emotion, and social dynamics intersect in real time. And the next time someone calls you too sarcastic, just smile. Behind that jab is a brain at work, a brain that's flexible, observant, and maybe, just maybe, smarter than the average. So, take a moment after this video and watch the sarcasm around you with fresh eyes. Notice the mental gymnastics, the social cues, the timing, laugh at it, analyze it, appreciate it. And then share your thoughts. Which type resonates with you the most? How does this land in your own interactions? Drop a comment, share a story, or just nod knowingly at your next sarcastic exchange. You'll see there's a lot more going on than meets the ear. Because sarcasm isn't just a joke, it's a mirror to intelligence, a dance of the mind, and a window into the complexity of human connection. And now that you know, maybe you'll hear and deliver it a little differently. If you like this video, make sure to like the video. Also, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you don't miss any update. Also, share it with your friends.